Ooh, hello everybody. Yes, welcome back. It's getting all exciting now. Finally, I'm back out on the road, a number of events, and I hope to be seeing you at them. If you haven't had chance, check them out. It's Emerge, ABTA, Hotel 360. We're going to the hotel conference as well in Manchester in November. So if you're going to be there and around, please check me out. Otherwise, we've been busy producing all these shows. If you haven't already checked out the photographs and memory series, we are already through to episode 9. We've got a couple more to come from our travel veterans sharing their memories of their travels. But today we are going to be looking at the changes that are going to be happening in the hospitality market, because joining me is Ryan Beacham, co-founder of Hello Vacay. Now, he's got a background in timeshares, and do not worry, this is not a moment for us to be selling you a timeshare, but perhaps a little bit of a reflection on where we've come since those days, certainly back in the 1990s when it was all about timeshares when it came to holiday rentals. So joining me, hello, thank you very much, all the way from California. How are things, Ryan?
They are very well. Thank you so much for asking. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. I mean, we've been connected, and it's been interesting to sort of like have a look at where you've come from in your career, because as I introduced, you originally started off really in building building a name for yourself in timeshares. And as we had a little bit of a chat previously, it sort of takes me back to my childhood being sold timeshares. So how has that sort of sector of the hospitality industry changed and evolved in the last decade or so?
Well, I'm going to do my best not to sit anyone down and offer them a gift card to hear a timeshare presentation. No, really, as an entrepreneur, what I've always done is look for where the problems are to be solved, and nowhere could I think of an industry that has more problems, more inefficiencies than the timeshare industry. But the interesting thing about the timeshare industry is the product's actually great. It's the product itself is not the problem with the timeshare industry. It's really the means by which it's been sold. People getting drug into rooms and beat over the head for 3 hours while they try and drink their margarita, on the holiday. And so we've tried to separate the inventory from the means by which it's been sold and the long-term obligation that people don't like. And certainly people don't like the maintenance fees either.
I mean, I guess that's given you so much insight into the wider hospitality industry and how that works. And I guess as well with the boom, particularly of holiday rentals, the Airbnbs, the Verbos of this world, really, especially as well during the pandemic, that's really made people rethink what a holiday is and what accommodation is. Had you seen some of those trends previously, and how were you looking to sort of address some of the problems that are in the market?
In terms of the Airbnb style inventory and that kind of thing, or
yeah.
It's interesting. We certainly think that's going to continue to be a big thing in the industry, and one of the reasons that the timeshare inventory is ultimately going to be a part of our offering is because it is multi-room properties. So the thing I like about the timeshare inventory, again, I like a lot of people that work in the industry and have had exposure or bad experiences with timeshare, don't like any of the ways it's sold or the maintenance fees or the long-term obligation. But the thing I like about the product is, it does offer some of the benefits of, say, the kind of Airbnb style properties, in that it's multi-room. Particularly if somebody's traveling internationally, it's nice to have a kitchen, right? You don't have to eat out every single time, and have separate bedrooms, to have that privacy, but it's still got professional property management. Some of the problems we're seeing with Airbnb and some of these guys right now is they're trying to make professional property managers out of people that are not professional property managers. So that's their whole game, right? Is making people actual property managers and trying to do that just through technology. And some things slip through the cracks. People certainly are unhappy. Sometimes the host is unhappy, or sometimes the person renting is feeling like they're not getting clean sheets or they're not getting clean towels that you would get with professional property management. So the thing we like about, and again, it's the timeshare part of it, is an industry where we've tried to create solutions for. It's just one source of inventory that we'll be offering on our new platform. But I do like the product because I feel like it offers some of the attributes of both worlds, which is professional property management, but also multi-room kind of apartment style inventory.
I was going to say, I mean, I think there's been a big explosion of property management companies over the last 18 months who are able to take over those properties as people don't really know how to handle it during the pandemic, and have really changed people's perspectives as well as when they're shopping for holiday rentals as to, am I going to go for the owner managed property, or am I going to go for one that's actually run by a property management company? And you either want that sort of direct sort of personal service and those chit chats with the owner, or you are looking for just to escape and have that bit more professional service. And has that taken you down then? I think you sort of briefly alluded to it just now. Your new proposition, which is Hello Vacay.
HelloVacay.com. Yeah. It's Hello Vacay is kind of an interesting niche that we found in that, you've got with the public online travel agencies, you've got just public rates. For those of you in the industry, of course, you're familiar with parity pricing. The caveat to that is, in our agreement with Priceline, it has to be behind a username and password. It has to be behind a paywall. And then we're able to offer inventory that's legitimately up to sometimes as much as 70% off the public rates. Some people are able to, in terms of the consumers, of course, are able to offer or access private rates, but a lot of times that's in expensive travel clubs. That's timeshare sometimes, though, and so they've got a large initial expense. They've got long-term obligation. So what we've decided is we'd like to have a subscription-based model that is kind of Netflix style pricing to give people access to those private rates. And we've started with the Priceline private rate inventory, and we'll include other sources of inventory like the timeshare inventory and others.
I mean, obviously, Priceline in Europe is also known as Booking.com as a better brand name. Personally, I think it's a better brand name. That's what I'm used to. So, I mean, you can really see this evolution that you've been on in your journey through sort of timeshare, hospitality, accommodation, etc. And now moving to this membership platform. Do you see this as a way forward? Do you see more businesses sort of really investing in this type of business model? Where they expect to have members and sort of be building their own little communities?
Yeah, I think so. And, I think one of the things that we've seen as we've done some market research is what's kind of troubling for a lot of companies in the travel industry is you don't see as much loyalty as you'd like to the public online travel agencies. And that's simply because there's such little variation between the rates, right? So I ask people all the time, just from day to day, hey, how do you book? What travel sites do you like? Why do you like it? And there's very little loyalty there. So I think, for a few dollars a year to really make a consumer feel like they don't need to look around, they don't need to hunt and peck online, and they're getting access to the private rates where they can readily compare at any time. We see a lot of value for the consumer in that. And I think you're going to see more subscription models. In fact, it was interesting while we've been working on this, TripAdvisor has just come out with a subscription model, as I know you're aware, TripAdvisor Plus. So I think you're just seeing the front end of something that's going to become much more commonplace.
Yeah, it's really interesting to sort of like see how that is going to be a sustainable model, because particularly, I guess, if you are a consumer and you've got that affiliation or affinity with a brand, then you may as well look to benefit in some ways. And is it better paying for it, or is it better trying to earn points? And I guess that's one of the things, is that these points reward systems don't necessarily give you that instant reward. It's so that you've got to take that time to really build up. And that's really, I guess, also impacting sort of like how loyalty schemes need to be considered, and the additional value that some of these loyalty schemes have. I could imagine that Hello Vacay could easily sort of feature on some wider loyalty schemes in the future.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we think in terms of the technology and as it relates to rewards is we're really looking at the future being decentralized. We believe that the future will be more and more decentralized. Obviously, there's been a lot we hear about blockchain and crypto and all of that. Some of the technologies that are being built are really amazing, transformational technologies. And then, of course, you've got the fads in there, and you've got the things that don't have as much value. But we think that crypto rewards, blockchain rewards, are kind of a natural fit in the travel industry. And so we think we'd like to work towards becoming more decentralized. And it's not just about becoming more decentralized with having a rewards token and what I would call a utility token, but we're also looking at it in terms, other people have used the term social token. So also what we see, when you talk about kind of connecting your community and all of that, using the phrase social token, we think more and more businesses as a whole are going to look to connect their ecosystem, if you will, so that they have one token that's kind of connecting, and then that will be exchangeable for other tokens. A good example of that would be Disney, right? They've got all these different offerings, in terms of clothing and movies and theme parks and all these different things. But I was watching someone talk about it, and he also pointed to Disney, where they're having to kind of rent back their from social media. They're having to kind of rent back the people that are interested in Disney from social media. If they had the Disney token, which I think they may have at some point, then it would really kind of connect their ecosystem. And so that's one of the things we're really looking at right now.
I mean, I'm going to go back to a question because I just want to make sure that we understand and what this all means and people's perspectives on it. Decentralization.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a bit more of what the decentralized movement is all about?
Sure. We believe that things are going to be much more peer-to-peer. In other words, individual to individual versus there always being an organization right in the middle of transactions. And so we think that the rewards part of travel could be at least a more decentralized component of our offering. And ultimately, what we would work to do is to have that token that kind of connects our community, but also is exchangeable, ideally down the road, for other offerings. It could be exchanged for other kinds of tokens and that kind of thing. I know it gets kind of abstract here when we start talking about cryptocurrency and blockchain and all those things. But I really encourage anybody who's not looked at some of the technologies that are being built to have a look at it. And we just think that's where it's going. We think that's Web 3.0.
I mean, it's all about finding those terminologies that people can connect with, relate to, right? And you sort of pretty much started the conversation with me before we started recording about sort of the whole idea of airline miles or Avios points, and
Sure.
That was owned by one company, and everything had to be fed or bought through one company. And you've got to build the miles up through there. But you're talking about actually it doesn't need to be through one company. company, you are earning all these points no matter where you're necessarily spending, and you can exchange them for whatever you want wherever you are. So it allows that greater fluidity. I think, unfortunately, the word cryptocurrency and blockchain always freaks me out. But when people start talking to me about totens, it reminds me of going to the arcade when I was 8, and I kind of know how to play with those, right?
Yeah, no, I totally understand. A lot of people kind of glaze over once you start talking about blockchain and crypto and all those things. But the thing is, it's kind of like the Wild West. If you think about the dot-com era, I think that's what we're in right now with blockchain. It is very nascent. It is very early. But what you don't want to be is the last person to hop on the train, right? Like there's a lot of people that are kind of slow to look at it. Look, this is a movement that's not going anywhere. I mean, people have been saying, oh, well, Bitcoin's going to go to zero, Ethereum's going to go to zero, and this technology, not because forget the price action of what happens on some of these cryptos and all that. It's really about diving deeper and looking at the technology. Bitcoin is a lot of people could argue is a more usable digital gold, right? It's a store of value. Whereas Ethereum is designed to be this blockchain where people are building applications on it, just like people building applications in 1999. So there's all of these decentralized applications that are going to disrupt a lot of industries. And when I say disrupt, I mean taking the middleman out of the transactions. So we don't believe you should anyone should be fighting that. Instead, you should be figuring out what is your role in that movement. But you look at the banks and all of that. Some of the things that are happening, being built on Ethereum and all that are going to disrupt a lot of the global finance, I think, ultimately. So
it is that sort of better streamlined efficiencies of the transferring of cash or money effectively. I've never understood why it goes from one person to another person just to reach another person, when it can't just go from one person straight to the person it's meant to reach. And the middleman, if he might have made the deal, just gets a portion sent back off to him, which just makes all the sense. Right. Sort of people storing all this cash and then earning interest and leaving it to the last possible moment that they need to pay the next person. And this was a big conversation that we had a lot last year, particularly as the travel industry was put on a deep pause and was then told to sort of refund everyone's money back. And then all these travel companies were going, well, where is the money? Where did I put that? I paid Peter to pay Paul, and I've robbed Steve at the same time. And then you end up in, I guess, very fragile financial business situations. But not to stop the technology there. Can you tell us how you think you're going to see the change in commerce, particularly how people potentially engage, and what sort of technologies are going to be at the forefront there?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think another part of what's happening in that we're seeing in technology in terms of things becoming more decentralized is also how we communicate with the consumer. And namely, I'm referring to conversational commerce, which I'm sure there's plenty of people in your audience that have heard that term. For others, it may be a newer term. But what we mean by that is, marketing has really become a dialogue as opposed to what it used to be, right? It's all about engaging with the individuals as much as you can. One of the things that's going to help us engage with the consumer more easily is technology. So when we think about artificial intelligence, when we think about machine learning, when we think about natural language processing, which is something that's used with chatbot technology, we think that as opposed to the way it used to be is sending out some marketing, and then hopefully somebody comes to your website, to this kind of centralized website, for commerce. We think even the conversations themselves are going to become much more decentralized. When I say that, I mean and this is something that we're really looking at, and something that we're going to work on. But we believe that the chatbot technology, as an example, is going to become better and better. Now, that doesn't mean just standalone, put some robots out there and hopefully they engage with your consumer in the right way. At this point, you always want to back that with real humans, from our perspective. But I do think that they can fill in the gaps when we talk about chatbot technology and that kind of thing. And that chatbot technology not just being on someone's website, really they can be on all throughout social media. And there are one or two travel platforms that are a little bit further down the road than us on kind of looking at these things and developing these things, where whether you're on WhatsApp, whether you're on Facebook Messenger, whether you're on any of the messenger apps, where they have a brand representation in the form of really smart, well-trained chatbots. So, look, this AI, I know a lot of people, a lot of your audience are probably well aware of this. AI, the machine learning, I talked about natural language processing, these kind of different disciplines in technology are becoming better and better every single day. And so we want to deploy some of that with our consumers.
And I'm certainly seeing how a pivotal role they're playing sometimes in just answering some of the simplest questions that we need.
Right.
Ryan, thank you very much for that pretty much whistle-stop tour through, timeshares, your new offering, HelloVacay, blockchain, and AI. I mean, it was really sort of great to see or get an idea of, how you guys are sort of embracing these new technologies and considering how they solve problems in the market.
Yeah, no, it's been great to be here. I really appreciate all your time today.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and I wish you a good day ahead. So that was Ryan Beacham, co-founder of HelloVacay. That is hellovacay.com. And you'll be able to sign up there now and discover some of the fantastic prices that you'll be able to get as they go further and deeper and building out their inventory. Well, you've been listening to Travel Market Life. I'm your host, Ryan Haynes. Check out the upcoming Photographs and Memories episodes, and I'll be back very soon with another interview. Take care. Ciao for now.